You're a senior associate for the Lucchese family, and a life sentence in Sing Sing is 90 seconds away. You're standing in the walk-in freezer of a social club on Pleasant Avenue. The air smells like raw veal and Freon. Your lungs burn with every shallow breath. Across from you is Vinny the Chin. He's your sponsor, the man who taught you how to weigh an envelope by feel alone. He's also the man holding a 1911 Colt .45 that hasn't been cleaned in a month. Between you on the floor is a cardboard box. Inside is the quiet ledger. It doesn't track gambling debts. It tracks the names of the people who actually own the ground you're standing on. Outside the heavy steel door, you hear the muffled croon of Sinatra and the rhythmic scraping of metal chairs on tile. If you don't provide the name of the man who sold the air rights to the tenements in the next minute, you become the leak that needs to be plugged. You're holding a matchbook with the answer written in pencil inside, but your fingers are frozen stiff. This is a story about a family that keeps its receipts in blood. It's a story about a foundation of paper that was never meant to hold the weight of a man's life. You grow up in East Harlem in 1962. It isn't like the movies. It's about the sidewalk and the specific gray of the concrete. You spend your afternoons on a cracked milk crate outside a corner deli, watching black Cadillacs roll past like sharks in a shallow reef. The chrome reflects the sun and the poverty in equal measure. The system is a machine of favors, percentages, and quiet nods. You have a routine as rigid as a factory shift. 7 a.m. espresso at the bar. 9 a.m. numbers delivery to the storefronts. 10 hours of being a ghost. You're good at the silence. You understand the geography of power before you understand algebra. The first crack in the routine appears on a humid Thursday. You see your father, a man who worked 30 years at the docks until his knees turned to gravel, bowing to a man who has never held a hammer. Your father's eyes are on the ground. The man he is bowing to is Sal, the butcher. Sal doesn't look like a killer. He looks like a regional manager with a tailor on speed dial. He finds you behind a cannoli stand while the smell of powdered sugar hangs in the air. He knows your father's pension was swallowed by a union restructuring. He knows your sister needs a dowry she'll never get from a dock worker's salary. Sal slides a set of heavy keys across a damp paper plate. They don't belong to a car. They belong to a basement apartment on 116th Street. The walls in that building are hollow, Sal says. We need a librarian to keep track of the books. It's a rational trade, your presence for your father's peace of mind. Refusing means watching your family evaporate in a tenement fire of debt. You accept. You get to work. You don't become a thug, you become a magician of the neighborhood's internal clock. You learn that the real game isn't about heroin or numbers, it's about the ground. You learn the most important acronym of your life. ED. Eminent domain. The Luccheses aren't just a crime family, they are a demolition crew for the city's elite. You move the undesirables out, and the developers move the steel in. Your trust within the crew skyrockets. You're given a seat at the back table. You get the silk suits that fit like a second skin. You get a gold watch that ticks with the precision of a guillotine. You're the architect. You bring the order, and the order brings the silence. You buy your father a house in New Jersey. He doesn't ask why the basement is reinforced with lead-lined concrete. He just sits in the backyard and watches the birds. You tell yourself you're a logistics worker with clean hands. You get good at the lie. That is the first mistake. The environment pushes back. It isn't the feds who start the fire, it's the progress. A new faction from City Hall decides Pleasant Avenue is too valuable to be left to the old guard. They don't come with a raid, they come with a rezoning plan. You respond strategically, not violently. You divert renewal funds into accounts Sal controls, but the diversion costs the city $2 million in missing materials. Sal notices the heat. He approves the move with a nod that feels like a death sentence. In this city, Sal whispers, the only thing that doesn't change is the dirt. Everyone else is just a tenant. You notice a pattern. Every time the police almost raid the club, you're tipped off by a man in a gray suit from a real estate conglomerate. When you need a judge to sign a stay of execution for a property seizure, the signature appears on your desk in 24 hours. Suspicion plants itself in your mind like a weed in a sidewalk crack. Who benefits from the Lucchese's owning the block? It isn't just the family. It's the banks, the commissioners, and the men who want to turn East Harlem into a luxury district. You realize you aren't the boss. You're the janitor. You're keeping the neighborhood prepped for a buyer you will never meet. You're a made man now. You stood in a dark basement and let the fire consume the Saints card. You have more status than any kid from your block. You also have zero freedom. You command a crew of 30, but you can't buy a loaf of bread without Sal's office auditing the transaction. Your phone line is a leash. You have $4.2 million in a fireproof safe, but you're serving a life sentence in a 5-block radius. The number that haunts you is 0. That's the number of men who have ever truly left the avenue. The two-front squeeze begins. The feds have identified your librarian status and issued a RICO warrant. The commission has ordered a clearance of the old neighborhood to make way for a multi-billion-dollar development deal. Sal wants a correction on your father, not because he talked, but because the house in Jersey sits on the exact coordinates of a new interstate off-ramp. Your father is a line item in a redevelopment plan. You open the quiet ledger on the freezer floor and realize the truth. The Lucchese's aren't protectors. They are the foreclosure department. The city hall men don't want a mafia bust. They want a total clear-out. Your death is more profitable than your life. Out in the freezer, the 90 seconds are up. The door hinges creak. A high, metallic scream that cuts through the hum of the Freon. Sal enters, wiping his hands on a white handkerchief. He asks for the name on the matchbook. You strike the match against the cold steel of the shelving. The orange flame is a tiny, defiant sun in the dark. The name on the matchbook is Sal. You watch the matchbook disappear into a flicker of orange and a curl of gray ash. You drop the burning remains into the box and watch the paper catch. You don't reach for your gun. You just wait for the sound of the bolt. The neighborhood doesn't remember names for long. The social club is torn down 3 months later. In its place, they build a coffee shop with high ceilings. The new residents think the gritty history adds character to their property value. In a small town in Nevada, a man works in a repair shop above a 24-hour laundromat. He fixes lawnmowers. He eats dinner alone at a small wooden table. He eats alone because he's forgotten how to connect with people outside a hierarchy. The laundry machines at night vibrate like an idling Cadillac. He realizes the club doesn't run on crime. The club runs on loneliness. Every recruit is a guy who ate alone until someone said, "You're one of us." That is the product. Belonging. The price is everything else. There is no retirement. There is no alumni dinner. There is just a small shop in a town no one visits and a sound on the highway that used to mean home.